Story 1. The woman kept knocking, even though there was no one outside. This happened to me in 2017 during a stormy October weekend in Western Oregon. I was house-sitting for my aunt and uncle while they were on a wine-tasting trip in California. They lived a few miles outside Corvallis, far enough out that they didn't get much traffic, but close enough to still get grocery delivery. Their house sat at the end of a gravel road that wound through a patch of thick forest. One of those houses you pass and wonder how far from town they really are. They had 2 cats, a smart thermostat, and a large picture window that overlooked the woods. It had been raining all day, steady, cold, Pacific Northwest rain that muffles everything, your footsteps, your thoughts. Around 7 p.m., I made a grilled cheese, fed the cats, and watched a few episodes of something forgettable. At some point, I muted the TV and realized just how loud the rain had gotten. It wasn't pounding, just relentless. Constant enough to make you feel like you were underwater. I was about to go to bed when I heard it. A knock at the front door. Not a frantic pounding, just a knock. 3 slow, measured taps. I paused, looked at the clock. 9:42 p.m. I wasn't expecting anyone. Nobody in their right mind would drive up that gravel road in this weather, especially not at night. I waited for a second knock, convinced I'd misheard. It came again. 3 knocks, same rhythm. I walked slowly to the front door but didn't open it. Instead, I looked through the peephole. Nothing. Just the empty porch, washed in the dull yellow light from the fixture above. Beyond that, the driveway and trees blurred behind sheets of rain. I even flicked the porch light off and back on to see if anything would shift. Nothing did. I stood there a little longer, hand still on the lock, and whispered to myself, probably a tree branch or an animal. But that didn't explain the rhythm. I went to bed, tried to tell myself it was nothing. The cats were curled up on the armchair downstairs and hadn't reacted at all, which felt oddly reassuring. At 2:11 a.m., I woke up to the knock again. Same pattern, same pacing. 3 knocks, not urgent, just deliberate. This time I didn't get up. I just lay there, staring at the ceiling. The guest bedroom was at the back of the house, far from the front door, and yet the knocking still cut through the rain. I couldn't shake the feeling that it wasn't random, that it was being done for me, chosen, measured, heard. I eventually fell back asleep around 4. The next morning I checked the porch. It was soaked. The mat was saturated and puddles had formed around the edges of the steps. But no footprints, no sign that anyone or anything had been there at all. That night, it happened again. This time I was ready. I turned off all the lights in the house and sat in the living room, waiting, eyes on the front door. It started at 1:37 a.m., 3 knocks, then silence. Then, at 2:12, 3 more. Still no one outside. And no matter how quietly I moved, no matter how fast I tried to reach the window or the door after the sound, nothing was ever there. No movement in the trees, no retreating figure, just rain. I began to realize something strange. The knocks didn't seem to get louder or softer, depending on where I was in the house, whether I was in the kitchen, the hallway, or the bathroom upstairs. The sound was the same. As if the distance didn't matter, as if the knocking had no source, just presence. By the 3rd night, I'd stopped trying to explain it. At exactly 3:04 a.m., I woke up to the knocking again. 3 knocks. I lay in bed, eyes open. This time I didn't feel scared exactly, more suspended. Like the house had changed shape, like space was thinner than usual. I didn't check the door, I didn't get up, I didn't want to know if anything was there, because somehow I already knew. The knocking was no longer just a sound, it was a message. Not words, not speech, just intention, contact. But contact from where? The rain never stopped, but neither did the knocking. Not for the rest of the week. On the 4th night, I moved to the couch in the downstairs den. I don't really know why. Maybe I wanted to be closer to the front of the house. Or maybe I thought if I was physically present, the knocks would stop. That whoever, or whatever was doing it, would lose interest if I didn't flinch. I left the blinds open, just the porch light on. Rain slashed sideways against the glass all night, and I couldn't sleep, not even a little. I lay there half reclined, watching the front window. At 2:28 a.m., lightning lit up the room. I remember because it was the first time I saw it, clear as day. 2 handprints inside the window. They were small, child-sized, pressed against the glass about 4 feet from the floor, palms flat, fingers spread wide, and they were dry. That's what I noticed first. The window was cold from the rain, but the prints were clear. No streaks, no condensation, just perfect outlines, like they'd been waiting to be seen. I didn't move. The flash faded, and the room dropped back into shadow. I sat there for a long time, hoping I'd imagined it, that maybe I'd fallen asleep for a second and dreamt it. But then the next lightning strike came, and the prints were still there, exactly the same. But this time, one of the fingers had shifted. The right hand's index finger now pointed slightly downward. I didn't sleep the rest of the night. When the sun came up, the prints were gone. Not smudged, not wiped. Gone. I pressed my own hand to the glass, trying to recreate the positioning. Mine were far larger, the angle all wrong. I went outside and examined the outside of the window, just in case. No mud, no tracks, no smears. But I couldn't shake the feeling that the prints hadn't come from outside. They had been waiting, inside. That day, I didn't leave the house. I didn't eat. I barely moved, just walked from room to room, looking at the walls, the doors, the windows, listening. That night, I covered every window with towels and blankets. I put tape around the frames. I turned off the porch light. I didn't want to see any more, but around 3:15 a.m., I heard the knock again. This time not at the door. It was on the window behind the couch. 3 gentle taps, like fingernails. I didn't turn around. I didn't move. The cats had vanished upstairs. I didn't hear them for the rest of the night. By the 5th night, I was done pretending this was just a random thing. I set up my phone on a chair in the hallway with the voice recorder app running all night. I slept upstairs again, door locked, white noise playing. In the morning, I checked the audio. I expected wind, rain, maybe some knocks if I was lucky. Instead, the file was almost silent until exactly 2:42 a.m. Then 3 knocks, slow, measured, clear. Then silence, then 3 more. I imported the file to my laptop and opened the waveform. Each knock had a strange echo behind it, like something layered. Not static, not distortion, more like breath, but the shape wasn't uniform. The 3rd knock had a small spike afterward, faint but distinct. I looped it, and I swear I heard my name, not clearly, not a full sentence, just a breathy, almost mechanical whisper, but unmistakably, Eli. It played again. Eli. I backed away from the laptop. My mouth was dry. I played it again, and the whisper wasn't under every knock, just the 3rd one. Every sequence. That night I didn't record. I turned off everything, sat in silence. At 3:06 a.m., I heard the knock again. This time it was faster, less measured, almost urgent. 3 quick taps, then again 3 more. I didn't get up. I just whispered to the room, "I didn't invite you." And the knocking stopped. For the first time that week, the rain faded. I fell asleep just before dawn. The last night I stayed in the house, I didn't hear anything. But when I left the next morning, I saw it, scratched into the condensation on the back window of my car. 3 small vertical lines. And underneath, a single word, Eli. I haven't house sat since. I changed my number. I don't answer knocks if I can't see who's there. And I haven't played back that audio again. But I still have it. And sometimes, when it rains, I swear I hear it anyway. Story 2. I swerved to avoid her, but there was no road where I woke up. This happened to me in 2019. I was 24 and working a side gig as a rural courier for a regional delivery company in southern Pennsylvania. It was part-time, late hours, and mostly in places GPS didn't really care about. I didn't mind. Less traffic, more time alone. I'd load my car at the warehouse and spend the night driving through hills and old mining towns, dropping off overnight packages. That November night, the rain was the kind that makes the road feel thinner, like it's being erased as you drive. I had just finished a drop outside a place called Round Hill, barely a post office and a shuttered gas station. I remember it because the road out of town curved sharply around a wooded incline with no guardrail. You'd miss it entirely if you blinked. I was heading east, thinking about stopping for coffee at this 24-hour diner the guys at the warehouse liked. That's when I saw her. It wasn't a vague blur or shadow. It wasn't something I thought I saw. I saw her. A girl in the middle of the road. She was standing still, dead center, facing my car, wearing a pale blue dress, sleeveless, too thin for the cold, soaked through from the rain. Her skin was pale enough to glow under the headlights. One arm raised, palm facing me. Her eyes were open, wide, not frightened, just open. I swerved, hard right. My tires hydroplaned immediately. The car fishtailed once, then snapped sideways, and everything just stopped. No crash, no pain, just silence. When I opened my eyes, the engine was off. The dash was dead. I was in the driver's seat, breathing hard. My headlights were still casting two faint beams into the woods, only there was no road, no asphalt, no curve, just forest, thick trees, damp soil, roots and leaves. I sat still for a minute, my whole body shaking. Then I climbed out of the car, my boots slipping slightly on the wet undergrowth. I looked behind me, no tire tracks, no gouges in the dirt, just nothing. It didn't make sense. I should have crashed through something, brush, fence, road sign, anything. But there was no sign I had swerved off a road, and the real problem was that I couldn't see where I'd come from. There was no road behind me, only trees, thick, unbroken trees, and the rain hadn't let up. I walked around the car, checked under the chassis. No mud, no scratches, nothing out of place, like I'd been parked here all along. But I hadn't. I went back inside and locked the doors. I kept staring at the high beams cutting through the trees. I was sure she'd appear again. That girl, standing in the path of the light. But she didn't. Not that night. I stayed in the car for a long time. I think I was afraid to move because I didn't know what would move back. I had one bar of signal, enough to open the GPS, but not enough to load a map. Just a blinking blue dot surrounded by gray. I tried to turn the key. Nothing. The engine didn't even click. It was like the battery didn't exist. My flashlight was in the glove box, but I couldn't bring myself to open it. Instead, I stared at the windshield. Rain ran down it in slow, fractured trails, the kind of streams that catch on the edges of leaves and distort what's behind them. There were no shapes beyond the glass. No shadows, no motion, until I heard it. Footsteps. At first I thought it was just the rain, drops hitting the roof, water shifting in the gutter lines. But this was different. Rhythmic, soft, measured. Footsteps. In gravel they crunch. In snow they creak. But in wet leaves they sound like breathing with weight. The steps moved slowly, from the left side of the car to the front, then stopped. I held my breath. My hand hovered over the horn, but I didn't press it. Seconds passed. Then the footsteps began again, moving around the front of the car toward the passenger side. Then they stopped again. Every muscle in my body tensed. I turned my head, slow, careful, and looked at the passenger window. Nothing, just condensation. But I could hear them. Still there. Whoever it was wasn't trying to get in. They were observing, circling, like pacing around something that didn't belong. The footsteps resumed, back toward the rear of the car. Slower this time, each one deliberate. A choice. They reached the rear windshield, paused again, then a tap, right above the center brake light. Not a knock, just a touch, then silence. My breath caught in my throat. I didn't dare move, my eyes locked on the rearview mirror. The fog on the glass made it impossible to see beyond a vague haze. Then another tap, softer, lower down, like the palm of a hand against the trunk. The rain kept falling, but nothing else moved. Eventually the steps resumed, circling again, faint, softer, until they faded completely. I didn't sleep. When morning came, the road still wasn't there, but the trees were thinner, like they had moved or made room, and my engine started like nothing had happened. When I got home later that day, I didn't tell anyone, not my roommate, not the dispatcher. I just said I had car trouble and they docked me for the lost route. But I did one thing before I slept. I pulled the memory card from the dashcam. It was one of those loop recording models that logged continuously in 5-minute chunks. I found the timestamp for the moment I saw her. Around 2:44 a.m., I watched the video on my laptop, skipping forward slowly. Rain against the windshield, low wipers, faint music from the radio. Then, the moment I reacted, I braced for it. The girl. She appeared clearly, frame by frame, blue dress, hand raised, eyes open. I paused the video, zoomed in. Her hand wasn't waving, it wasn't a warning, it was reaching, like she was trying to touch the hood. I played the next frames, the swerve, blur, sudden darkness. Then static, no impact, no movement, just grey-white wash on the screen like a signal cut. Then black. I almost closed the file there. But something made me drag the playhead to the very end of the recording. A few seconds before the file ended, the static dropped out. Just one frame. I paused, then hit the arrow key to advance a single frame. It was her, the girl. Only now she wasn't standing in the road. She was inside the car, face pressed to the dashcam lens, eyes wide, mouth stretched into something that might have been a smile, but not quite. It looked strained, like a face imitating a human expression it didn't understand. Her hair was soaked, her pupils were blown out. Water streaked her cheeks but didn't drip, and her hand was pressed against the lens, smearing something that looked like fog. Then the file ended. I shut the laptop and sat in silence. I wanted to throw the memory card away, but I didn't. I still have it. Because the thing that scares me most isn't what I saw, it's what I didn't. Where did the road go? Why was there no impact? And how did the engine turn back on with no damage? I tried to explain it once to a neurologist friend of mine. She talked about environmental stress hallucinations, cognitive disassociation under perceptual strain. She said storms can trick the brain, that maybe I never swerved at all. But then I sent her a still frame of the girl from the footage. She never replied. 2 weeks later, I got a text from an unknown number. Just one message. "You made the right choice swerving. Most don't." I didn't respond, and I haven't driven that route since. But I still check the dash cam sometimes, just to make sure she's not getting closer. Did you enjoy the content and it made a difference for you? Click on Super Thanks and support our work. Story 3. The lights went out, but the rain kept getting louder. This happened to me in 2021, during one of the longest power outages I'd experienced. I live in an older apartment building in Baltimore. Brick walls, no central heat, and faulty insulation that lets every outside sound feel a little too close. That night, we were in the middle of a windstorm followed by heavy rain. Power had already flickered 3 times by 10 p.m. I'd just finished brushing my teeth when everything went dark for good. No lights, no hum of the fridge, no hallway security lamps, just darkness and rain. At first, I didn't mind. I lit a candle, opened the blinds a crack to let in the ambient grey from the street lamps, and settled on the couch with a blanket. I don't usually mind storms. There's something rhythmic about them, reassuring. But around midnight, the power still hadn't come back. My phone battery was low, and I decided to just call it and go to bed. That's when I noticed something strange. The rain sounded different. Not louder exactly, but closer. My bedroom's on the interior side of the building, no windows. It's the quietest room in the apartment. But that night, the rain sounded like it was above me, directly overhead, like it was hitting the ceiling just a few feet above my bed. There's a kind of sound rain makes on a roof, Diffuse, scattered, shallow, but this wasn't that. This was sharp, focused, like it was hitting metal. I lay in bed, eyes open, trying to rationalize it. Maybe it was the pipes in the ceiling vibrating. Or maybe I was just more sensitive because the power was out and my hearing was compensating. But the longer I listened, the stranger it felt, because the sound wasn't moving. Rain usually shifts, hits windows, echoes in the walls, fades and returns. This stayed fixed, directly above, almost like a speaker had been placed on the ceiling above my bed and turned to low volume. I turned on the flashlight on my phone and stared up at the ceiling. Nothing. No water stains. No shadows. No sounds of dripping. I tapped the plaster gently with my knuckle. Solid. The sound didn't change. It kept falling. Quiet, consistent, impossibly close. I got up and moved to the hallway. The sound faded, moved back to the bed. It returned. I felt my body respond before my brain did. Heart rate climbing, skin tightening, every muscle telling me something is wrong. I pulled the blanket off the bed and slept on the floor. The sound didn't follow me. But I swear, just before I drifted off, I heard it stop, not fade, stop, like someone had lifted a bucket of water from the ceiling and walked away. The next morning, the power was still out. I got up early and opened every window shade to let in light. The sky was still grey, but the rain had stopped. Everything smelled damp and clean. I went into the bathroom to splash some water on my face, and that's when I noticed it. The floor was wet, not soaked, just a trail. A thin, curved line of moisture starting from the doorway and ending in front of the sink. It wasn't from the shower. I hadn't used it since the day before, and the tub was dry. The sink wasn't leaking. Neither was the toilet. And yet, there it was, a clear arc of water like someone had walked in, barefoot, leaving a single pass of moisture in their wake. At the end of the trail near the base of the sink cabinet was a towel. Not one of mine. It was smaller, thinner. Not plush like the ones I bought. Pale grey, neatly folded once, then set down flat. Damp but not dripping, and warm, like it had been used. Recently. I stood there for a long time, staring at it, touching nothing. Eventually, I picked it up and dropped it in the trash. I checked every lock in the apartment, all sealed, windows too, nothing disturbed, no sign of forced entry. And yet, something had been in here, and they'd left tidily. That disturbed me more than if they'd trashed the place. Later that day, a maintenance guy knocked to check water lines. He said some upper-floor residents had complained of low pressure. I asked if anyone had a pipe burst. He shook his head. Nope, bone dry up top. I almost asked him to check mine, but stopped. There was no damage, just wetness. That night I kept the lights on, all of them. Around 2:30 a.m., the power flickered again. The lights dimmed, then went out. I didn't hear rain, but my bedroom smelled like soil, wet, earthy, unsettled. And in the dark, I felt something shift in the air, like someone stepping out of a shower just behind me. I moved 2 months later. I'd been meaning to upgrade anyway, and when a unit opened up across town with better heat and a view of the river, I signed immediately. Everything was clean, new, no more flickering power or creaky walls. For a few weeks, I slept soundly. Then, in early March, it started again. Not rain this time, thunder. It began around 3 a.m. I was lying in bed when I heard the low rumble, distant at first, then sharper. But there was no storm that night. I checked the weather. Nothing for hundreds of miles. The sky was clear. Still, the thunder came again, low, almost breathing, like a growl beneath the building. I thought maybe it was construction or a truck idling nearby, but then came the dripping from the bathroom and the kitchen and the pipes near the hallway, all at once, every faucet, every valve, dripping, perfectly spaced, in sync, like a metronome. I turned off the main water valve to the unit. The dripping continued. I recorded it on my phone, played it back the next day. Only silence. I started looking into unusual environmental events, trying to find something to explain it. There's a term I found in an old folklore database, interior storming. Not a weather pattern, not a plumbing issue, a psychological phenomenon. Or maybe not. Accounts going back to the 1800s. People reporting storms inside rooms, wind with no source, damp walls with no leaks, footprints appearing on dry tile, thunder in sealed apartments. They all said the same thing. It started after a power outage. It started after a specific sound moved too close. Some described a visitor, others never saw anything at all, just heard it, felt it. And once it started, it didn't stop. Even when they moved, even when they stayed in hotels, they said the storm followed. It didn't care about place. Only presence, only recognition. I've tried ignoring it, tried pretending the sounds aren't there, but every few nights when I lie awake, I hear it again, a soft patter above the bed, then the towel, neatly folded, on the bathroom floor. And when I walk past the mirror, I swear, just in the edge of my vision, the reflection isn't quite mine. It blinks too slowly. Its lips stay parted, like someone about to say something, or breathe. The storm doesn't need clouds anymore. It just needs space. And silence, and someone who listened too long, someone like me.